So we are here I'm interviewing Brian Hines, who is an entrepreneur in Huntersville, North Carolina. Today is November 26th, 2024. We are at Brian's office and we'll be discussing his business and entrepreneurship. Thank you, Brian, for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with me today. So let's start with your background. Where are you originally from and where did you go to college?
Originally from Waynesboro, Virginia. Grew up there from first grade all the way through college. Then went to Radford University.
Okay, wonderful. What did you study in college that led you to an entrepreneurial life?
I was a finance major.
Finance. I didn't know that. When you immediately left college, what business path did you follow?
I think at the time, this was 1994, I took the traditional path that kind of was instilled from my parents, our parents' generation. Go get a job with a company that's going to provide you a pension and going to be able to take care of you when you retire. So that's kind of what I did. I went and worked for Dun & Bradstreet, worked for them about 3 to 5 years in the corporate America realm.
Yeah.
And because that's what I was conditioned to do, but then I quickly realized I did not fit that mold. I was different.
Okay. How and when did you decide to become an entrepreneur?
I never planned on being an entrepreneur. It kind of just fell in my lap in a way. I just knew that I told somebody the other day, my education began the day I graduated college. I was never a great student, but I always I knew that there was something more for me, and I wanted to get out of this track of working for somebody else and chart my own course. At the time, I had no idea what it was going to be. I started wanting to be a real estate investor, and that's kind of when I started veering off in that direction. That was probably I took the leap 5 years after I started in corporate America, but I was transitioning mentally and educating myself for 3 years at least.
Okay, wow. Was there someone or a specific business that influenced you as you contemplated your career?
I wouldn't say, not a person that I personally knew. I did a lot of, my education began really after college, like I mentioned. I started reading a lot of books. I would say Richard Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, was a very influential person to me from the standpoint of change of the mindset. So I really just dove into what he was preaching and what he was teaching, and just knew that there was something better for me than where I was at. And then I started really zoning in on real estate because I wanted to be a real estate investor. And then, take that on. I just wanted passive income. It was another way for me to get out of that corporate America job at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What characteristics do you think someone needs to be a successful entrepreneur?
Persistence.
Oh.
If I give one word, it's persistence. Because it's not for the faint of heart. I mean, you got to scrap, you got to hustle. Not everybody can do this. I mean, you've got to be determined to be able to build something, to take a risk out on your own. You've got to be persistent, because there's a lot of days that nothing happens, and you got to believe in yourself so much that you got to keep going every single day.
Nice. Do you follow a particular faith, and how does that play into your professional life?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a Christian really my whole life. Became saved when I was in high school. It's been a big motivating factor, or the driver for me on how I do my business, how I operate my business. Because I've observed and worked with people that just don't have the same don't have the faith that I have, but also try to take advantage of people in ways that I don't think you would if you're a true Christian. So.
Very good. Describe the business you currently have today.
Today, after evolving in a lot of areas, really I got a real estate investment company and a development company.
Okay.
And earlier this year, I gave my real estate brokerage company to the lady that was running, so it won't be a distraction going forward.
Okay. Now, how does inflation, deflation, business cycles, etc., impact your decision making?
Well, first of all, it's hard to predict any of those things. I mean, you can tell when we're in an inflationary cycle. We don't know when the deflationary cycle is coming. You always have to always make decisions based off the numbers, but make adjustments and calculations for things that could come, inflation or not necessarily deflation. I'll give you an example. I was building a project and lumber went to its all-time high right when I had to order lumber and there was a scarcity. The numbers still supported it because I had built in contingencies for that. But then after that cost was gone, I was able to absorb that in inflationary periods with, rent increases and those kind of things. So it's benefited my business significantly. But I always try to stay on top of where interest rates are going, where certain market indicators are going, because it will impact my cost of funds. Upcoming projects that I want to work on, I have to anticipate where it may go. Can't just rest on the laurels of where things are today. So I try to become educated in all those areas, even though I can't predict where they're going to go, but I try to make calculations based off what could happen.
Okay.
Contingencies.
That makes sense. Okay, we recently analyzed the causes of the Great Depression in my class. Your businesses survived the 2008 downturn. Did you recognize an oncoming shift before it happened, and how did your business withstand the economic stress of that year?
I knew something was coming. I didn't know what. At the time, I was changing my business model to suit more of what I desired for my family. And an opportunity came up that really helped propel my business. And it was something I wasn't looking for, but it was something, when it presented itself, I couldn't say no. So you always have to be prepared, because you never know when the right door is going to be open for you. And that door was open, and it propelled me through the entire, for 5 or 6 years through the recession, where I was protected, and I was actually in a growth model during the last recession.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. Okay, you also served as a Huntersville Town Commissioner. How does shifting politics locally and nationally affect your business decisions there?
I like to say I'm a recovering elected official. No, it very much impacts. On a local level, national level, not as much. On a national level, when it comes to capital gains or interest rates or something like that, yes. Local level can really make a big impact, because regulations, my cost of business, my biggest cost is really regulations, make things a lot more expensive. Right now, they're 25-30% of some of our projects, which is due to regulations that officials, whether it's just local government officials, planning departments, or political officials, make or mandate on our projects that make it more expensive. So that's very much, when we go into a project, it may take a year or two to deliver. We're trying to guesstimate what our costs are up front, but a political environment, people that may not approve a project, or community advocates or what have you, very much can impact our projects.
Do you think the new election's going to do anything too? The changing of?
I think it probably will, from the standpoint of I think it's going to decrease regulations, but then by the time you talk about the federal level, but when you get down to like what I do on a local level on my development business, maybe not as much. Okay. Because a lot of the code that we're governed by are state laws, not necessarily federal laws. Okay. I think on the federal level, it will definitely help on our cost of funds to build these projects, which really is if we can get those down even 100 basis points, that's a big significant change.
Okay.
And that can drive the market even higher, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. In my class, we read an article entitled "Progress in Entrepreneurship." In the article, it said entrepreneurs undertake many activities to search for an entrepreneurial opportunity and to make it more likely that they, rather than someone else, will be the discoverer. How do you make decisions to seek out new business opportunities?
Well, I'm at a stage now where I've done a lot of the actively seeking opportunities, and now I'm more narrowly focused on where I'm supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So, like right now, I know exactly what I'm looking for, and I can act immediately. it's amazing when I think back to that question. One of the first investments or opportunities that we tried to take advantage of is we used to own vending machines. You may never know that.
Did you? Wow.
Lori and I bought some vending machines. We had 5 vending machines, and we placed them throughout businesses in northern Charlotte. And we go and fill those vending machines up, and quickly realized that that wasn't the type of business we wanted to be in. We weren't built that way. But since then, we've invested in a lot of different things. But over time, I've just learned some worked great, some didn't work at all, some we lost a lot of money on. But now we kind of focus nearly on what our path is and what our focus is, so I can make quicker decisions on what path to take.
Right. Wow. Okay, within that same article it says, all attempts at entrepreneurship are not successful. People often believe they have spotted profit opportunities and act on them, only to end up taking losses. Have you ever invested in an opportunity and experienced a loss? How did that affect your business, and what did you learn?
Yes. If anybody tells you they're an entrepreneur, they go out and they invest, the first thing they ever invest in, and they got 100% hit rate, they haven't tried a lot of things, they just got lucky. I've invested in a lot of different things and they haven't worked. For example, we invested in fantastic idea of a tire testing facility. And we actually got it up off the ground. It was in a 400,000 square foot facility. There are contracts with major car manufacturers throughout the world, but the main investor in the project decided to pull his funding, and then the business went under.
Wow.
So yes, I've experienced it, but every experience I go into, every opportunity, it's money that I'm willing to risk, willing to lose. I'd never put our future on the line for any of those other type of things that are not in my wheelhouse.
Okay, what risks are involved, monetary and personal, in being an entrepreneur? So obviously the money's involved. So what about the personal part?
Relationships, time, family time. I remember early in the business when we first got cell phones or Blackberries, and we would be anywhere we go. I'm always on. So I'd be at the beach, I'd be answering a phone call, and Lori would be like, "Just spend time with me." I'm like, "Well, I can't lose this opportunity because if they go somewhere else, then I'm not gonna be able to pay for this vacation." And it took a long time, to really understand or to settle in, to create some margin or to be able to compartmentalize, I guess is the right word, and differentiate the two. So when I go home, I'm really home.
Yeah.
Before I had to always be on. I was always thinking about it because I hadn't done anything. I was trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. So what would you tell a college student considering an entrepreneurial career?
It could be the best thing ever because what it does, it creates freedom, and freedom is worth any amount of money. But be willing to go out there and hustle. Be determined. Don't just accept the word no, because there's a lot of people that'll tell you no, but they also respect people that are persistent, and you just gotta out hustle everybody. Because I tell kids, and I tell my own kids, there's not a lot of competition out there. The only competition is yourself. Because I've had a lot of young men come in this office and ask me how to do what I've done, and I give them the entire book. The problem is nobody does it.
Wow.
Because they're just settled in what they're doing, and they have other things going on in life, and they just get distracted. Before long, it's 5 years and nothing's happened, and they just feel stuck now.
Yeah.
So you got to get after it.
Wow. Good answer. All right, the last question. After 3 decades of working towards this moment in time, would you choose this career path for yourself and your family if you could do it all again?
Absolutely.
Would you?
Work 3 decades just to have this time sitting with you. I absolutely I would. And it's interesting. It's a lonely place to be because a lot of people that or friends, they don't understand it. They respect it, but they don't understand it. And I don't understand. It's hard for me to understand their space. I remember it a little bit, but a lot of people, it's very rewarding. It's very satisfying. I mean, I completely control my schedule. Some days I work 12 hours a day. Some days it's 3. Some weeks are 80 hours. Some are 30 hours. I wouldn't trade it for the world. And the way that God put it all into motion, I'm very, very thankful for it.
Good. Well, you've made a good decision.
Well,
Thanks,
you.
Brian.
You're welcome.
All right.